Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So Bunny is back. I hope there's enough light for you guys. I had my lights on that are directly above me and it was just so bright. It's late in the evening and I feel like stitching and I thought, what can I work on? And Bunny is it. So I thought I'll turn the camera on. I haven't had a chance to get to him for a few weeks. He seems to be my project that I pick up at the end of the month once I finish my Roxy project. And if I've got some time, squeeze in a few bunny videos. So I just unwrapped my Aurifil thread I picked up when I was down at the retreat at Ballarat. So I think it'll be great to stitch on this panel. So where are we up to? I finished all of the embroidery. So I've done like a primitive stitch when doing these flowers. Try to keep it quite, not too classic embroidery, just a little bit wacky. So the plan is this pocket is going to be a pocket full of flowers. So I am just busting to work on that stage of the piece. Now, what I want to do is, first of all, show you my inspiration. This book here I also picked up when I was in Ballarat. I just love her work. She has so many books out. Some of them are project books, some are just look at me, I'm gorgeous books. This is one of those. So in here, every time I flip through, I only get a few pages in and I'm like, oh, got to go and stitch. And I think that's what's happened this evening. I've been flipping through all of these hand quilted, beautiful quilts. Oh my goodness, I tell you, just the hours of work. Look at the log cabins stitched over the top of the pieces. Oh, I've done a flip through already of this book. If you don't have any of her work, published works in your collection, I'd strongly urge you just go and check them out because I think you'll find there's something in there for everyone. Now she does a lot of needle turned applique. And this, when I was looking at this at the airport on my way home from Susanna's retreat, this just totally inspired me. Just so beautiful. Just the little details where she slides in that little bit extra colour. So there is just so many in here. Like, look at, see how there's like this whimsical thing happening as well. Anyway, the more I look, the more I get more and more confused. So I just need to dive in and go for it. So the plan of attack. Now, I just want to, I guess, work out where my flowers are going to go. So I've got myself a cup. I was trying to think about how can I have some form of planning, because if you remember, this little guy needs to find a home in the flowers. So this video is all about mapping out where we're going to go. This lace is not stitched down yet. I need to stop sliding my fingers all over this piece because I'm going to end up with a pin in me. I do want that piece there, but it's very wonky. So I just want to flatten that out a little and repin it. So that is some homework that needs to be stitched down. Now this pocket full of flowers. Well, that's the image in my head. And my little bird. Oh, there we go. I just did it. Just jabbed myself. Pin them down. I should have stitched that on before I turned the video on. I didn't realise I had a little bit of homework there. I must have been unsure about it, so I pinned it to think about it. So pocket is where the flowers are coming out. So my feeling is we need to get this guy a spot where he can rest. And this is going to be flowers. Not necessarily this big, but at least a location for some flowers. because the stems need to find their way to all of the spots that we need it. So if this little lad sits here, I don't want to cover the cherubs, but I could creep up to the cherubs, up into here a little bit. All right, I just don't know if you can see enough. Let me zoom out. Oops, let's zoom up a little bit higher so you can at least see my pocket. I think Birdie, does he go there? Or does he go over here? No, he needs to. I feel like there's a bit of a thing happening here. There's a bit of movement. We don't want to cover that line. Oh, just do it, girl. Just go for it. So if Bird comes through and he's sitting on a branch that comes from the pocket. There we go. We just made a decision. With some pins. I will needle turn in the theme of this piece. I will needle turn this little guy. But I'm thinking I'll leave that rough edge. That'll help me with that building the primitive story look. Now this little guy was done just on Calico, but I did tea dye it to just take the freshness out of the fabric colours, because this linen tea towel has a very soft sort of look about it. Now I'm not ironing my edges, because once again, I'm trying to get that aged look. So I want this piece to look like it's old. And if I have really strong, crisp edges, I don't think it will sell the story of what I'm trying to do here. Well, we'll see. It's a bit cack-handed what I'm doing, but anyway, it's going to be a very scant little seam. I haven't done needle turn applique for years to any great length. It was the big thing there in the 90s when I was doing quilts. I need to spin that around. This is a bit too awkward. End up with a cramp between my shoulders. Yeah, I was doing quilts, and then there'd be overlays of things on those quilts in the way of needle turn applique or an applique piece on with good old blanket stitch. Oh, the memories. I haven't done any of that for yonks because I got blanket stitched out. I was just sick of it. But I've had this on my radar for a little while because I did do a bit of this, and I probably did more of the blanket stitch. Hence why I don't want to go back there. Than this. So, and having done a little bit already further down around the bunny and the bunny himself, they'd make a great pocket. But anyway, we're not. So that's where we're heading with the birds. So let's grab our cup. I'm thinking we need a flower there. So let's just draw a circle. What that flower is going to be, who knows? I think they might be all different somehow, maybe, unless I can come up with a design that I'm happy with. Let's try and get a branch coming off him back to the pocket. Just bear with me, guys. It's a small camera and a very big panel. I think we might do that. We might as well come in there. We can always iron these out if we find that it's just not coming together. Now some of these circles might be two flowers. It might be a big flower and a little flower. I just don't know. I guess this is the best way of sort of mapping out where I'm heading without spending hours putting something together and then going, well, you know, appliquing on a flower and then saying, oh, gosh, I wish it was further to the left. Does that make sense? So I'm sort of just, I guess, giving myself a bit of a guide. We're going to need space over there. I sort of feel like maybe we should. That flower there, I sort of feel like it needs to be looking up. Might leave it at that. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 locations. So odd numbers are better, as they say. So maybe we can do something wacky and have something over here. But who knows? Maybe I'll do a second circle, a final circle over here. At least we've got a bit of a guide. Now, fabrics. Now we have a couple greens for leaves. All right, so leave them to one side. I think if I went digging further, I'd probably find more greens. There's another one. Didn't have to dig far. I've got some yellow. That's a bit of the leftover fabric. I've got some yellow and some different shades of the pink, right through to dark to light, etc. So I guess that one to me is a bit washed out. I'm going to leave it at maybe these. It's a little bit blendy with the background. So, flowers. What are we going to do? I got some greaseproof paper. I'm going to use that to get some form of template. So let's just have a bit of a play. I don't know, we want some big ones. I sort of want them to be a little bit wonky. I don't know, do I want them a little bit tighter in the centre? And then we could even do some laying over it. We could do the classic daisy pinwheel effect. I don't mind the idea of that, and we could even to bring a second colour in, maybe we can do a bit of an inlay like that image was. And then if this is an inlay, let's start with that. It's something. I'm sure once I get on the rhythm of it, I'll come up with something. Trying not to overthink it. This is just winging it. Sort of think back to when we were doing down the garden path, and we had all these random prompts that we had to, on the fly, come up with some form of design for our big piece. That's sort of what I'm doing here, just sort of saying, right, flowers. What's some random shapes? Looks like a tooth. Anyway. Oh boy. Let's cut this little guy out. I don't know how much I love doing this guy because of that point. So let's soften the point. Needle turn is a challenge at the best of times, let alone having lots of points to do. Yep. We'll worry about inlays and that once we get the basics of these flowers down. So even that would make a good hanging down flower. So I'm pretty happy with that shape. That shape. Can you guys see them? I much prefer filming in the morning because then I know my light is good. But I couldn't wait. So, hot tip, find the bias, and usually it's the diagonal from the selvage. Lots of give, allows you to go around corners easily. So where's the fabric? So let's do that. Now you can mark it, you can use chalk, you can use whatever you want. You can rough cut them out, which is probably what I'll end up doing because this seems a little tedious. So we'll just cut the one out and then we could potentially use that as the template. I guess too we'll decide if this is the right size. Do they need to be a little bit smaller? So you can use anything to sort of sketch your flower shape. It could be a piece of card, plastic, paper. They're gigantic, aren't they? That's good. Let's cut a couple out. Put a pin. Don't have to, but should we line the lines up? That'd be clever. Might as well give it a go. Nothing like creating work for myself. Just going to do a quick cut out of that and then whiz around. So that's 2. Now I guess you've probably heard this 100 times, but when I go to do the next petal, I need to use the very top petal as my template again. Otherwise, my petals will get bigger and bigger. So I need to keep this guy, put him to one side, and then go again. Just do a quick cut out. Cutting it on the bias too helps with fraying, especially loose weave fabrics like these guys. These are Japanese fabrics and they're so soft. They're just beautiful. And I would say they will fray pretty easily. So by cutting on the bias, it just helps keep the fabric intact. So once again, keep the top one. Whether the top of this petal has enough detail in it will remain to be seen. As in this little shape, I might end up having to cut a little deeper into the center of that just to make it feel a little bit more interesting, but we'll see. Now remember the seam allowance, I'm going to use 1/4 of an inch. You can use a lot less. A lot of the books recommend even less, but I find haven't done this for a while, so I've got to get the knack back again. So I'm going to make it easy on myself and just do a 1/4 inch seam. If it's too bulky, too big, which we'll soon find out, I can always, trim back a little bit more, but we'll see. I need to hunt out a needle too, nothing too long, makes it hard to maneuver. So a shorter, fine darning needle, or even a beading needle, straw needle. Milliner's needles are okay, but they might be a little bit long. Look, at the end of the day, try a few and whatever you feel you can handle with your fingers. Everyone's got different dexterity in their fingers. And I know mine feel a bit achy at the moment because I've been doing so much gardening. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes, but there's no time on this project, so I'm not too concerned if it takes me a while. Oh, I like that. I like the 3 of them. What's 5 look like? Oh, you glorious. So then if we do a smaller version of him, let's just get the little guy sorted. The insert of colour. Now I need to keep him safe, because if I decide to do this guy again, at least I've got my pattern. But I don't know, I reckon they will all be a little bit different to each other. I don't really want them to look the same, I don't think. I'll get a bit sick of stitching them if I do that. See, to me, that's probably not big enough. I think it's a little bit lost. So let's make it a little bit longer. Be bold. But I guess the final test will be once these guys are stitched down. I wonder if I'll have enough light to see to stitch, actually. I might have to jump up and put the overhead lights on. I've got this bar above my head with lots of spotlights on it, and I can direct the spotlights to suit. So if any of my mates come over, yeah, that's better. But let's see, once we get, you know, some of these down, because we've got to actually reduce them somewhat in size. So as they look now, might be good with that, but we might end up back at the little version because it's smaller once it's needle turned. So we need the applique pins. What am I doing? Might as well get them out. That's what they're for. Used in their true sense. Now you've got a couple options. I've seen people turn it as they go. I've seen people stitch it in their hand loosely and then place the piece down. I've seen them pin as they go. I've seen them iron and pin and turn and look, you do whatever you feel comfortable with. Remember, if you are following along, this piece is about whatever, break the rules. So back in my day, I would have ironed and pinned and tacked and stitched. I don't have time for all that. I'm just going to try and do it as I go on the fly. Because otherwise, if I don't make this slick, I'm going to lose interest real quick. I've got a thread down there that does not need to be done. Now, I need more light. I'm going to turn on the light. So hang in there, guys. It's probably way too bright for you. Be a lot of shadow. Oh, goodness me. Oh, well. Use this needle nice and fine. Oh, I learned a trick from Fleur, and she was so cute. She says, now I'm going to tell you this little tip, and she had literally learnt it a couple weeks prior from a lady in a workshop, and we all just stood there and said, we can do that. And she said it's exactly how she felt when she heard it. And that is, you're waiting for it, drum roll, tie a little knot here so that your needle doesn't unthread. Oh, can you hear the angels singing? Pure genius. And Fleur was showing us some beading on a piece. And we're all standing around watching. And she ties a knot, and we're like, what happened then? What was that? You know, can we do that? As long as a messy knot at the end. This oral fill thread is real silky. So let's give it a go. Let's put that somewhere safe before I lose all my bits. Move that out of the way. Back it up, you lot. Back it up. Let's get some room happening here. Scrunch this up in my hand. Okay. Ow! Oh, you so-and-so. Okay. Regaining her composure once again. Oh, it's treacherous with pins in place, isn't it? So I'm just going to catch that corner. This should be beautiful to slip stitch down because it's got a little bit of texture about it. When you get things like Liberty fabric, they're so fine, so it can be tricky to make your work look like it's, oh, I can feel where that pin went in, you know, nice and seamless. Don't do big stitches, Corinne, slow down. Just little bites. Oh gosh, this is going to take forever. No, it won't. Power on. Plenty of homework. I just so wanted to get back to this piece. This piece literally went to Brisbane and back, thinking, oh, I'll do it of an evening when I get back from Fleur's course. And I'll do a couple videos over that week. And I just didn't pull it out. I did the stitching on top of the hat box. I then proceeded to leave my iPad plugged in beside the chair. I sort of hid it a bit because, you know, someone could come and view the house, being it's on the market. So I hid it a little bit. Roll forward 3 or 4 days of having not touched anything to do with the channel projects. Totally immersed myself in Fleur projects. And bloomin' left my iPad in Brisbane. So I had to get Chelsea girl to drive over to the house, grab it and take it to work. And Gaz has now been down there a few days mowing the lawn, and he's off for a weekend to see his mates in Melbourne, actually. So you guys are probably watching this the day he gets back, actually. So he's chuffed off for 7 days to sort the house out, check in with the shops. He's got some computers to install. And hopefully remember to grab my iPad. He will, because I'll make sure he does. And Chelsea will too. So I've then got a week of filming and stitching. I raced around like a mad chook and did all my chores, so I don't have to do any housework, and I can just stitch. And this is the first project I picked up. I do want to also get on to Botanical Beauties and get that one finished for the month, and potentially start, see, look at that, the knot. Oh, insert music of angels singing. The needle will not come unthreaded. So now that I'm into uncharted territory here, this is where I just need to take my time. I'm going to just finger press it and stitch. I'm not going to fill this full of little applique needles or pins unless I have to. I'm just going to work my way around. I don't really care if they're different shapes. I want them to look wonky, primitive. This is so liberating, guys. Oh, I hope the 90s never come back, where we have to be so precise and everything was heat and bonded and seam bonded and this fabric is beautiful. Wow. Okay. If you feel like you need to give yourself a bit of a guide, you know, by all means, pin away, but I'm not. I'm just going to go for it. Bring back the slow stitch element of it all, where it's just mindful stitching with a rough plan. Love it. Just give myself a little turned edge. So if you haven't popped over and joined our Facebook group that Susanna from Vintage Blend Studios and Tia have created, do so, because there's a few ladies that are actually doing a bunny piece. Some of them have finished the bunny piece. Puts me to shame, but that's all right. It's lovely to see their work. So there's my little flower petal. I might, considering that I've gone all the way to the centre turning that, I might sneak a pin in. Why not, I say. Oh, I know what I wanted to put in this piece. Is, oh, it might be too big, is the piece of, oh, Corrine, use your words. English paper piecing I was doing. Now, where is that? I better bloomin' make a decision about that before I get all into these flowers. And there's no room because it's really a background element. I think it's in my little Jennifer Clouston caddy, sewing caddy, which I can see sitting at the end of the table. I took it down to Brisbane as well, thinking that I'd get a bit of that done, but no. Miss Fleur totally took me into her world. Okay, how quick was that? That's great. Now there will be a centre eventually in this flower, so I'm not going to be too worried about that edge. At least by starting what I'd call at the bottom of my bunch of flowers, I can do a pretty big flower, and if I decide the next flower can be a bit smaller, like he's pretty bold, but that's good, I think. Yep. Just a little bit of a turn. Actually, I'm right-handed. I need to start here. That would have felt quite awkward. So let's turn that edge. Drop it into there. And then when that turns, yep, that'll work. Couple pins. So I think we got the gist of how these little flowers will come along. You know what I need to consider before I get too carried away here is the centerpiece. Actually, I need to do that as I go, don't I? Because I need to get, oh, here comes the 90s back, comes flooding back, doesn't it? I need to get this little guy, if he's going to happen, he needs to happen now so that that complete petal is underneath that, like so. Right. All right, girl. Let's have a look. Let's have a practice on. Take him out. Get rid of him. Back it up. Oh, the layers. The layers of thinking that goes into this. Do we want this little line? I don't know if I do. I don't know about that, you know. That looks too washed out. Oh, hang on. Hang on. I also had this put aside. I wonder if there's a fabric in here that would work. That's not bad. Oh, I can hear Fudgy I thought he was snoring, but no, he's just got out of bed. Do I want something? Oh, look at that. Oh, look at you, you beautiful thing. All right. We're going to try the bigger one. Where's the bias? Hang on. Tight, loose. All right. Let's try this. Pin it. Now that's my finished size, so I need to cut around it, allowing a little seam allowance. Hang on, I'm going to cough. Goodness me. Oh, something's caught me in the throat. Just had to readjust that a little bit. We'll make it work. Now I'm going to sneeze. Oh my goodness me. Sorry guys. Maybe there's something come out of that. Oh my goodness. Suddenly I got a tickle. I'm going to sneeze again. Oh, I'm going to have to pause. I'll be back in a minute, guys. Okay, I'm back. Gosh, I just had the biggest sneezing, coughing, choking attack. There must have been some fibres come out of this pack of fabric when I was flicking through it, because straight away it caught me in the back of the throat. I cut out a second one while I was choking. I cut out another one. And then I started doing a little light finger press while I was choking around this little guy. Oh, now I've got a runny nose. Seriously? These things interfere with my sewing. So that's the plan. I've got a bit of a rough shape there. Oh, goodness me. So I'm just going to find a rough position in the centre there. Should I bring that more into the actual petal shape? Might do that. Pop a pin in. Now I do have a fairly tight curve there, so I might find that I need to put a few little snips to get around, but we'll see how we go. It might just be on the edge of being able just to be eased. I bet I don't have a knot in the centre of that. Yep, I do. Good. Okay, carry on, girl. Just a little nibble. Yeah, I think that must have been full of fibre dust that just went straight into the back of my throat. Made me cough, set off my sinuses, made me sneeze. Just went all crazy there for a second. Some of the other fabrics that I got from this Japanese range are all blues and strawy colours, and they sort of don't suit this piece. So I will need to dip into that French General pack, I think. Just get my little seam there reasonably smooth. Hope you guys can see. I'm sure you're all, oh, come on, come through. I'm sure you're all busy stitching anyway. Look at that, it has not unthreaded. Gosh, genius. It was so funny. If you've seen, you know, I'm not sure how many were in the class. I can't recall even taking much notice. I was too fleur-struck. You can just imagine a whole group of women going, Wow. And Fleur was giggling. She was like, that's exactly what happened when it was mentioned in the last retreat. You're never too young to learn something new. So all of you YouTube girls out there stitching, not your rope on your needle. Oh, come on, let's get around that corner without having to snip you. We don't want to go back to the 90s. We're going to do it. Determined to do it. Now, I don't mind if this little guy's wonky, because my bunny's wonky. Just be careful grabbing there, girl. You've got pins. Oh. You could use the needle to pop those little seams under, or your fingernail, or iron it, tack it. I saw Kathryn right at the beginning of her videos turn an edge of an applique and put a little invisible stitch through. I think I might have done that on something down below, and I thought that was great. Eliminates pins. You could do these anywhere then, have them all pre-done. And then, oh, imagine these petals off-centered everywhere. No new ideas, girl. We've got a vision. Still looks like a molar. Looks like a tooth. The next petal, I'm going to trim a bit of that bulk out of the bottom there, just so that slithers in a little easier. I don't need that excess fabric. This will help tie a bit of green into the piece, because that sort of looks a bit green. Might be able to pick up on some of these flowers too. See that little flower, how there's 3 big petals and then 2 little ones? That potentially could be another flower design elsewhere on the panel. All right. We've probably done enough needle turn applique to send you all asleep. What I do need to do before we part company is work out if I'm adding another background piece, which is the English paper piecing I was doing on those, what are they called? I'll grab the bag in a minute. But I think we've got a plan here. I've got some homework. I can do a flower there. So let's just, yeah, that's great. Nice and layered, which is what we want. And then picture the other 5 petals. Oh, maybe I only do 3. Remember, I was looking at it thinking, that is something. I sort of feel like I need a hero flower in the middle. And I've got one of those for that. So let's cut out the rest of these, and then I'm going to grab that piece and see if we need it or not. I have a feeling I don't. I think I'm going to need a a fairly neutral background to have these flowers really pop. I have a feeling that I won't need it, but we're going to make a decision. That's a slightly better shape. I might just trim that in a little bit. Redesigning on the fly. If I had a template from a pattern, things would be simple, wouldn't they? No. It's quite liberating when you don't have a pattern, guys. Be brave, go forth and play. There'd be a sister fabric in that little charm pack of this. It's nice and soft, this fabric. I just need 2 more. Still cutting on the bias. What else can I tell you about needle turn applique? Maybe one project and you'll be over it. But I don't know, it's nice to revisit these old styles and give them a bit of a modern twist. Gosh, just. That's all right. We can always trim a little off that flower petal anyway, because it's, you know, we could have a very scant little seam if we needed to. Well, there's a nice morsel. Just trim that up. I'm going to throw that in my fabric scrap bucket for a rainy day. So if anyone asks me in the future, what's that fabric from? Well, we'll never know now. There you go. Put that to memory. If that pops up in a future project, we know what the story was. All right, so there's that little guy. And then in the center will be a little pop of yellow. Okay, I feel like we've achieved something there. So let's just pop a quick pin in them, so I don't lose them between here and the couch. That's my homework. I'm definitely going to do a full flower. I think I need that big anchoring flower here. I won't change my mind now. We've made a decision. I need to think about what the stems are going to be. I'm thinking couching something on. But it's a decision I don't need to make. It, you know, technically you could couch in now because then you can have that petal sitting over it, but I'm pretty confident I can sneak my needle underneath these little elements to make it look like that it's continued on behind. So I'm not too worried. If these stitches were so close together and you just couldn't do it, well then I'd probably recommend that you get, you know, all of your threads down. But I also don't want bulk. So we're going to try and be a bit tricky and give the illusion that they've gone right through. Maybe I'll stitch them. Maybe I won't couch them. Don't know. I did consider needle turning them, but that's too much work. No, I'm not going to do that. So what have I got in here? Somewhere. Oh, so they're the shapes. I did keep the little bag they came out of so that I would know. Oh, I just love this little pouch. I need to make another one actually. I've sort of got it in the back of my... Oh, I found money too. Oh, could buy an ice cream. So these are the little elements that I was fiddling around with because I had visions of this being somewhere on this piece. But I sort of don't think I've got room for it now. This was a design I saw at Gail's Patchwork Emporium. And the plan was then to bring in a paler colour into all of the gaps, and away you go from there, and you create this piece. Elongated hexagon, 1 inch. But I'm thinking that I'm not going to use it. So there you go. So I'm going to tuck it back into here because it's one of those, if you want something to do somewhere, English paper piecing seems to be the go-to. So it's going to go in there with my $4. So I can get an ice cream one day. I can pull out my English paper piecing. I've got the remnants of my Fleur project, which I need to take out of here. And just leave the basics in here. It's got my needles, a few pins, a bit of thread, thimble, basting cottons, that can come out. Little scissors in a gorgeous little drawstring pouch. It was so good. And then I added this to it because it gives me a spot to pin a pin, like so. But it's a Jennifer Clouston pattern. I better put the email address for Jennifer in the bottom. So if you did want the pattern, you send Jennifer an email and she will send you a link to payment and yada yada, and the pattern arrives. So it's just a cracker of a little bag. Really works well. I embellished here, and Jennifer in her pattern gives you a different design. I sort of went and did my own thing there. I so need to make another one. This would make a great gift, or just keep it myself. And I've just got a little safety pin there. I got my basic needles. I could probably de-needle this a bit. Some of my favourites are there from my own pin cushion. But my plan is really just to leave it as if I can just grab it and go. I got everything I need in it to do some stitching, and hidden in it is this additional little whatever project that might end up on whatever. So it was so handy at Fleur's because I could sort of just roll it out and everything I needed for the day was in it. Gosh, I just got sidetracked. Anyway, all right. Now, what else do we need to figure out? I think I just want to get him stitched. Then I know he's going to work. So what I might do now is I want to get rid of these pins. So while we're just hanging loose together, I need a pail of cotton. That's what I'll do. I'm going to, what have we got, about probably 15 minutes of stitching together. I'm going to grab a needle. What did I do with it? That's so not it. Oh goodness me, there's a needle on the loose. It'll turn up. Yes, let's do the old Fleur magic trick, not the cotton. Genius. I'll have to find out from Fleur who the lady was, and then we can name the knot after her. We'll call it the Fleur magic trick for now. Okay. All right. I'm just going to quickly whip around this with invisible stitch. I'll probably do something more decorative on it at a later date, but at the moment I just need to get rid of those pins because they are going to bite me as I scrunch this fabric up to do that flower. So yeah, so I'm not sure when the next video will be on my bunny rabbit panel. It's just sort of sliding in wherever. So if you are hanging out for it, I do apologise. It sort of is my fill project. I've got a few that are sort of set in stone Mondays and Fridays and Wednesdays, and then the Roxy project is in between all of that, and depending on how in depth that gets, depends on whether the bunny pops up closer to the end of the month or not. But that's good. It's nice to have a project that's sort of sitting there on a bench looking at you and you're thinking about it and pondering, and it's perfect because, you know, that's going to slow me down, and potentially I can then muck around with all those flowers and do, you know, a multitude of different things with them, which would be nice. Okay, doesn't take long to invisible stitch these little bits down. I'll do that little bird next to, get rid of those pins, they need not be there. So thanks for joining me, guys. Hope this video finds you all well. I don't know what time it is here. It must be about 8 o'clock at night. I knew if I didn't do this video I wouldn't sleep, because I was really starting to focus in on having a play with the bunny. And I would have gone to bed thinking about those flowers, and I just wanted to get one out of the system, and then I can sit and stitch tomorrow. I've got to make a gift for someone. I want it to be useful. They do a lot of sewing, so I'm wondering about that Jennifer Clouston little caddy. Maybe I have a look through my fabrics and see if she's a real girly girl. And she loves pastels and flowers, and she's right into hand sewing. So a little caddy like that I think would be nice to give her. So, see, now I'm thinking about another project, for goodness sakes. I know you lot are all the same. We see things and we're like, oh, I'd like to make that. And we're at the end of May now, and we're all cooling our heels waiting for the new prompt for June. So, actually Wednesday. Is this video going up Wednesday? I might go and grab my diary, because if it's Wednesday, and I think it might be, let me just grab my diary. Hold that. Talk amongst yourselves, as Gail Gasparani would say. Hang on, guys. Okay, I'm back. Let's have a look. When is this video playing? Like I said, it's a few days prior. No, Tuesday. Tuesday the 28th, you are watching this. So, tomorrow is Wednesday the 29th, and it's my birthday. What will I stitch on my birthday? So you better be singing me happy birthday about now, practicing ready for tomorrow's video. There you go, there the pressure's on. I want to hear a chorus of song. Oh my goodness, I tell you. Feeling old about now. But not going to think about it. I will put a few more stitches in this than what I've done. because I want to know that it's really anchored down this little pretty piece of lace. So I'll just keep whizzing around there until I run out of thread. Then I'm going to go to the bird next. And do a little bit of needle turn on that. Then I'd say the hour is pretty much up. I think I'd filmed about half an hour, maybe 35 minutes before my sneezing attack started. Yeah, I sort of glanced at it as I started to choke. The show must go on. That's come undone. That's not bad considering that little knot, you know, is not a permanent thing, which is good. Let's just whip up to this corner. This thread is just lasting and lasting. Go straight through to that opposite corner, and now it's come unthreaded. See, you think all the time that's wasted with needles becoming unthreaded. I know you're all knotting your needles about now. Don't know how well it would work for cruel cotton and all of those, but it certainly works well with fine cotton and fine needles, beading, just real thin threads. I'm yet to test it on crocheting cotton. I would say it probably won't work because you'd be needing to make one hang of a hole to grab that knot through. So it's really is an invisible stitch and a beading trick, if you ask me. I haven't road tested it with wool. Okay, so now I'm going to whip up here. Grab that darker thread. And I'm going to stitch down my little bird. I believe I've linked below the video where I made the little birds. So it's that classic patchworking technique, but forget about the technique and just use the elements to make the little bird. And there's be so many variations that you could do to get your little bird. I just feel like I need a pin there. Okay. Sneak up here, and once again I'm not too concerned about straight edges. I want a soft edge is the aim. Yep, just a little nibble. I thought of something too as I was pinning that corner down about bird. What was I thinking? I think I want to go around him too to anchor him down. I'll probably do a bit of invisible stitch because I don't want it to feel puffy. But then I might take a thread colour and outline him. Do a few little running stitches right around his perimeter as a bit of a feature. That's the thought that popped into my brain while I was pinning that corner down. Okay, we're off and racing. Did I knot that? Old habits die hard, don't they? So let's put our little fleur woods knot. The sneaky knot. That's what we'll call it, the sneaky knot. Pop a sneaky knot at the end of your needle so that your thread does not come unthreaded. And there's that music again from the angels, the epiphany. Oh, it's so nice to stitch into thicker fabric. Just feeling that texture and having this batting behind. Oh, I know another thing that I've been asked multiple times in comments, and I was answering it there for a bit because I knew the figures off the top of my head. What is the size of this panel? I know there's probably at least 2 comments out there that I just lost track of and never got back to the girls and said it is X by X. So if you're watching, I'm so sorry and I've ignored your question. But when I get to the top corner here, I shall put down my needle with its sneaky knot. There you go, I've just Corrinized it. Reginald has a sneaky knot on him. Deirdre, I'm thinking of you. She was a lady that was at our course and she knew of me and my words of weirdness, and we were mucking around with a thin straw needle, and I heard this little voice up the table a little bit from me say, I know someone who names their straw needles or beading needles. And I heard it, but I didn't twig because I was concentrating, all right? I was focused. And then it's like a delayed reaction, and I looked up and she's grinning at me. I'm like, yes, Reginald. She says, yes, Reg. We all know Reg. For those who don't know Reg, he is a thin, mean little nasty needle that helps me with beading, visible stitches, and he's constantly jabbing me because he's got a bad attitude. So I've named him Reg. This is Reg here. Might not be the Reg, but it's part of the Reginald clan. It usually ends up going down my fingernail. So I might just let Reg hang there for a moment. I'm going to grab my little tape measure so I can once and for all mention the size of this piece. So if you are thinking of doing it, you sort of got a bit of a perspective of how much fabric I'm working with. Just ignore that clicking. 31 inches by 20 inches. So for the Aussie girls, 51 centimetres across, and that length is 78 centimetres. So if you were looking to get just a beautiful piece of linen or a beautiful piece of anything really, and pop some wadding on the back, I do that just to have some thickness to it. I really enjoy stitching into this batting. I don't tend to go towards the polyester ones anymore. I've got scraps of them around from quilting days. So if I'm doing a little project, I might use, a little bit of it. I tend to keep going back to this cotton blend wadding. And the other thing I've been using a bit of lately is old wool blankets. But they're getting hard to come by. Everyone's charging pretty big money for an old wool blanket. But if I do see them and they're this tone, I do try and pick them up if I'm lucky enough to see them. There's a few online for sale and they range from $80 to $120. It's just, gosh, big money for an old blanket. So, yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to toddle off. Not sure when Bunny will reappear, maybe in a week or so. He might appear again tomorrow, and maybe this is what I'll stitch for my birthday. Nah, I think I'll do something else. All right, that's it. We've got to start to our big spray of flowers. All right, guys, look after yourselves, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.